Okay, good afternoon. Once again, we are going to look at now the organization of slave trade. We looked at the factors for the growth of slave trade, the factors why there is an increase in slave trade. We have looked at different aspects, what slave trade implied by that time, what does it mean, and how it is corresponding with the day-to-day activities right now. We talked about people carrying out slave trade, and it is becoming known because people are even paid to go and work in those Arab countries and the European countries. So we're now going to handle the next part of it in slave trade, and that is what we call the organization of slave trade. Under the aspect of organization of slave trade, normally and in actual sense, the questions are few. It's not a big deal that the questions are many in the organization of slave trade. The question, there we see the first question. Describe the organization of slave trade in East Africa during the mid-19th century. It is plain and point clear today, and it is just the question is straightforward to the point. Organization, okay? Now we're listening to the keyword organization. The same comes to question number 2. How was slave trade organized in East Africa during the mid-19th century? We still have this there, okay? Organized. How was slave trade organized? Are you getting it? So, which implies we are looking at the organization of slave trade in East Africa. In the first aspect, what do we look at? Okay, what do we look at if you are to talk about slave trade in East Africa? And we talk about its organization. Okay, we are talking about its organization. So, in an organization, what most people do, and sometimes I feel excited with them, they normally write a 1 paragraph explaining each and everything because they feel like it is organization, you are supposed to tell a story of how things are flowing, which is okay. But what is the best out of it? The best out of it is to write a paragraph after paragraph. Get these points which are putting in the same paragraph, which is huge, and put them in 1 paragraph after the other. Use the 3-line paragraph format of writing. It's enough for you to have explained what that point requires you to write. So, to make work easy in slave trade, I talk about organization. There are some aspects we look at. Okay? There are some aspects we look at in the organization of slave trade. We look at one, we look at the commodities. We look at the commodities, okay, which are being handled by that time. What were the commodities we had? The biggest, not even the biggest, but the most valuable commodity by that time, which we had, it is the name itself, which are slaves. Okay, we had the slaves. The slaves were the highest commodities we had by that time. Okay, which implies the slaves were being exported from the interior to the coast of East Africa, and from the coast to the outside world, to Asia, to Europe, among other countries. So that was one, and it was the major commodity of this trade. Okay. 2, what do we look at next? We look at some of the inputs, probably. Some of the inputs we look at the inputs. We had the beads, we had the mirrors, okay, among others. Okay, these are some of the inputs we had. These are inputs, and these were exports. Okay, the slaves. You can't forget to talk about gold. I know you like it very much because that's among the examples gold, then the most remembered two is ivory. Yeah? Because you feel those ones without them, you don't have an example in your mind. So we put those in mind and put them there. So we look at the exchange. How are these slaves exchanged? If you remember very well, when we talked about our introduction in the previous lesson, we talked of the commercial transaction of buying and selling of human beings, which means if it is commercial transaction, it implies that there is a mode of exchange which is supposed to take place. So what were the modes of exchange by that time when slave trade was booming in East Africa and at the coast? The first mode we're supposed to look at, we look at the mode of the cowl shells. Why cowl shells? Because this was a commercial transaction. Okay, so that was the first mode of exchange. But a trade was a mode of exchange, it was there, but it was limited. Okay, it was limited because people are dealing in this commercially. People are getting money the right way they're supposed to get there. The way we do the same business. You go to the shop, you give in money, they give you bread. You give in this, they give you that. You give in this, they give. So you pay or you hand over money and they give you the commodity you need. So that was the instance behind. Then another kind of exchange which took place after the introduction of cowl shells, we saw the coming of coins, the minting of coins. So the coins which were minted, it was not that they're minting them for leisure. So which means they had to use them. So in the case of using the coins, it means that these coins were supposed to be used when they're carrying out transactions from one area to another, from one commodity to another. That's why we talk about barter trade on a minimal basis, because by this time the cowl shells were there and the coins were also there. After that, what other aspect do we look at? We look at the aspect of transport. Okay, the aspect of transportation. What is there in transportation? Okay, what were they and how are they used? Which routes did they use? How did they divert from one area to another? So we are going to look at all those aspects and we'll look at even at the mode of communication. What was their language they used most? Remember that the language of business, and side two were the language of administration. Okay, because they couldn't just move when they are not administered. They had to do with the leaders who are supposed to move on, doing each and everything for them. Then we look at how slaves are also acquired. Okay, the methods of acquisition of slaves, because we are looking at slave trade. So because we are looking at slave trade, so that is mostly what we are going to look at deep into this area of organization of slave trade. When we look at our screen, we have shared, okay, the organization of slave trade. I've explained most of them there, okay? So right now we are going to look at the tribes, okay? What tribes are involved? When writing an introduction or your organization of slave trade, you have to tell us which tribes you are involved in the trade, okay? One, talk of the interior tribes, then two, talk of the foreign tribes. So the interior tribes were the Nyamwezi, the Kamba, the Yao, the Chaga, the Banyoro, and the Baganda. I don't think we can misfire to lose out anything slightly small, like an example from these aspects. Out of those examples, one or two are enough, okay? If you remember the Nyamwezi, if you remember the Banyoro, if you remember the Baganda, it is okay. Write that one. It's not a competition that whoever writes most will get the highest mark, as long as you attach an example and a valid example to the interior people. Two, who are the foreigners, the participants, okay? Who are the foreign participants and the local? We have looked at the local ones. who are the Nyamwezi, the Kamba, the Yao, the Chaga, the Baganda, and the Banyoro. Now we look at the foreigners. Who are those foreigners who came to pick the slaves? Those ones who came to take the slaves away from East Africa. We had the Arabs, and we had the Swahilis, and we had even the Zanzibaris. The Zanzibaris, those were people from Zanzibar. We know them very well, and we know how to handle them. So still under that aspect of the foreign attachment, at least give us an example. I don't think anyone here can forget to write about Arabs. We talk about in foreigner in terms of trade in East Africa. So we talk about the Arabs as those ones who are supposed to be the foreigners or the foreign people or the foreign traders who participated in the long distance trade. Why do we talk about them in that aspect? When the locals got the slaves, that to sell them to these Arabs or to the Swahili traders, so that the Swahili traders can do the transportation work to the coast. Then from the coast, they also have to do some exchange, and then they take them to other areas of influence. So that is it. From there, we look at the slaves themselves. How were they being acquired? How do we acquire the slaves? In our first point, we look at it there. This is the third point on our screen under the aspect of organization of slave trade. Slaves were acquired through hand picking, okay? And that was for unfortunate members of the societies. For example, the criminals, the witchcraft, the witches, those who practice witchcraft. You talk about the wrongdoers, those who used to do a lot of crimes. We talk about the thieves, etc. Okay, so that was hand picking. You take away the unwanted seeds, okay? You take away the unwanted properties or commodities so that the society remains at peace. So that's how these people were being acquired, okay? Being acquired through hand picking, that was the first one. The second one, there was also massive raids which were being carried out in villages at night, okay? I normally bring out an example and ask people whether they've ever watched that movie of Apocalypto, that adventure movie of Apocalypto, where the people used to come and they come in, burn the areas, they beat people, they do whatever naughty things they wanted to do. But in the essence, for them, they wanted human beings. So they wanted slaves. Are you getting it? Hope you're on the same page. So in that aspect, that's how people are being acquired, through massive raids. You are home, sleeping, out of nowhere, your house is on fire. And the only aspect to save yourself is running out. The moment you run out, the guys are there waiting for you because they know you cannot remain in a burning house. So they wait for you outside. You bring yourself out forcefully because of the heat and you want to save your life. So you fall into their arms and they handle you, they tie you, and they take you as slaves. So those were the massive raids they used to come up with in that aspect. Okay? From the massive raids they used to carry out when they are taking slaves, there was also another method whereby the tribes used to go for. Remember the point we talked of in the factors, the intertribal and we can call them the intercoastal, we can call them the interstate, those wars which are being carried out. Interior tribes were always at war, okay? The interstate wars, it implies that Buganda goes to Bunyoro to fight, Buganda goes to Busoga to fight, the Ankole come to Buganda to fight. So when they come to fight, whoever wins, the defeated societies would always provide slaves because you are defeated and you cannot fight for yourselves, which implies that these people who have won, that the ones who are supposed to identify that you'll be good for slave. You go, or we don't want, you are too weak. This one is this one is that. So that's how they used to take people after those wars. So I've looked at the acquisition now. Okay, we looked at the participants. We talked about the locals and the foreigners. Now we have looked at the way how these people are acquired, how the slaves were acquired from one place to another, and how they became slaves. We look at another aspect now. Which aspect? We talk about the transport. Okay, the transport aspect. How are they transported from the interior to the coast? Okay, so being transported. Oh, when we talk about transportation, we are talking about the routes, the trade routes. Which trade routes did we have by that time? The trade routes in East Africa, which were there, the ones which were used during the long distance trade, are the same trade routes they used during the slave trade. So we look at them there. We look at the first trade route, which was the northern trade route, which implies that the areas of the northern trade route, we had Mombasa, Tanga, and Pangani. Okay, Mombasa, Tanga, and Pangani. Those were the first areas whereby you arrive there, or you come from there, you move to the interior, to Lake Victoria to the north, okay, and others moved up to Lake Turkana. So that is the first route, okay, which is the northern trade route. And who control the trade route? The Akamba were in charge of the northern trade route. So we need you to be specific on those aspects. Trade route number 2, that was the central trade route, that is Bagamoyo, okay? Their first area of influence was Bagamoyo to Tabora, to parts of Buganda, Ujiji, etc. Okay, hope we are seeing that. Okay, we are seeing that trade route very well. We had Bagamoyo to Tabora, to Mwanza, Buganda, others went to Ujiji, and others went to the southern parts of Lake Tanganyika. So that is the central trade route. Who controlled the central trade route? The central trade route was controlled by the Nyamwezi, okay? And that's why it is mostly in Tanganyika, because the Nyamwezi were the ones in control over that central trade route. Then we move to the southern trade route. It started from Kira, okay? Started from Kira, moved to the southern areas, to Lake Nyasa, to that area, via Lake Tanganyika. That's where we have the Pwetos, and then you have the Nyambwes, okay? All those people participated in the slave trade, okay? So we look at the trade route, and we have to put our mind, who are the people in charge of the southern trade route? Okay, those in charge of the southern trade route were the Yawo, okay? The Yawo were the tribe, or the people who were in charge of the southern trade route. So that's how we look at the organization of slave trade. And before we move further, in slave trade, a map is required. When we talk about the organization of slave trade, the map is required. And that map will make you score 2 marks on it, okay? But what should you put in mind when you're putting the map there? Remember, all in all the aspects we talk about a sketch map, okay? A sketch map of the trade routes used during slave trade. That's enough for the title. Then put the frame there, then draw the map there. Remember one thing, during this time, we never had the party, Africa was never partitioned at all. We had societies cutting across. That's why when we look at most of them, what you have to do is to ensure that you have the coastline there. From the coastline, ensure that you have the lakes, the major lakes, which you see. We have Lake Victoria, okay? We have Lake Tanganyika, which is there. We have Lake Nyasa, okay, which is the side moving to Malawi. Are you getting it? We have Mountain Kenya. It may not be required as such, but at least you have the major water bodies. Okay, we even have Lake Mweru this side after Lake Tanganyika. Those are the major water bodies we have in East Africa. The moment you have them, put in mind and get to know that the central route, okay, came from Bagamoyo, which is there, went to Tabora. Ensure that where you put your Tabora is in the is almost midway, okay? A map of 90, when you are drawing an angle of 90 degrees, it is midway. Lake Victoria and Lake Tanganyika. That's why you indicate our Tabora. So when you get the Tabora, you get a direct direction to Uganda, to Mwanza, to Ujiji, among others. The northern trade route, which was controlled by the Akamba, from Mombasa, Tanga, and Pangani, it moved northwards, going to Lake Turkana, that side of Lake Turkana upwards, which means it never crossed through Uganda. Okay, it never crossed through Lake Victoria, but it moved by that lake, moving upward. That's why we refer to it as the northern trade route. When you come to the southern trade route, we refer to it as the southern trade route because it was in the south of all the routes. Okay, it was the south of the central trade route. We started from Kira, it moved the way it is moving down to Malawi, then there it comes down below Lake Tanganyika. Are you getting it? Below Lake Tanganyika, that's when it moves up now to Pweto, to Nyangwe, moving through to the sides of Congo, Rwanda, etc., where gold was got from, and the ivories among others. So that's how we look at that map. You just put the sketch map in your head, and everything will move on as planned. Okay, so that is it. The other route you should not forget, it is not here on the map, but you should not forget about the Kaltumas. The Kaltumas, these were traders who came from the north. They came from Sudan. Okay, I think you are seeing where River Nile is, the Nile River. Okay, so for them they followed the Nile River, coming from up, moving down, and they also involved themselves in trade. So those were the four major trade routes which were used during slave trade in East Africa. Okay, so those were the routes which were used during the trade in East Africa. So hope we are now clear with that, and we can probably move on to the right aspect. So as we move to another aspect of the participation of the organization, we look at the communication bit of it. How did they used to communicate? How are their communication skills? Are you getting it? We talked about Kiswahili, which was a business language, but we should not forget talking about Arabic, which was the administrative language. Okay, so they used Arabic in administration because the Arabs were taking the charge, but they used Kiswahili in business when they start business with the local people at the coast, even those ones in the interior of East Africa. So that was another method. Another aspect, we will talk about the interpreters, because some people are not understanding in the interior. So these people came with interpreters. Because you are from the interior, you know the local language, and you have learned also Kiswahili. So they come and they start discussing. Someone interprets for you that they're saying, this is for how much? Then you say, this one is for 2,000. Okay. They tell the other person 2,000, they pay, then business closed. So that is all the aspects and how we look at the way how slave trade was organized in East Africa, so that all things move on in the right way possible, and we do the needful. So what do we look at now? Lastly, in this bit of it, one, remember that when we talk about organization, we talk about the participants in the trade. Two, we talk about the commodities in the trade. Three, We talk about the medium of exchange. We talk about the business itself, the exchange mode, the transport communication, and how these commodities were acquired. Okay, so that is how that aspect is moving on. That's how that aspect is moving on. So I was saying, when we look at the organization, the aspects we normally put our emphasis on, and these are the aspects. Okay, we look at the participants, and the participants are divided into two. We have the local and the foreign. The same to the commodities. We have the imports and the exports. The communication bit of it, how they used to communicate. The business language, we said it was Kiswahili. Okay, and the administrative language was Arabic. So we should not forget this. And these two languages were both used. When we come to the exchange, we have the cowl shells, the barter, and the coins. Okay, because the meeting of coins also started by the time these people had come. Then the transport, we talk about the northern route, the central, and the southern. Okay, the northern was controlled by the Akamba, the central was controlled by the Nyamwezi, and the southern was controlled by the Yawe. Then look at the method of acquisition. How did they used to acquire these commodities or the commodity of slaves? They acquired through raids, they acquired through hand picking. We talked about those societal criminals. They even acquired through intertribal wars. After fighting and winning, people take over control over the others. So this is what the needed prospects and aspects within the organization of slave trade. But we should not forget, when it comes to this point now, we are going to look at what we call the conclusion. Okay? I will look at what we call the conclusion part of it now. How do we conclude the organization? It's better. It's a one-way format. Okay, format. The organization of the long, in conclusion, therefore, the organization of slave trade was done politically, socially, and economically as seen above. I get it. So that's how we explain our conclusion in that aspect. If it is part A of the question and starts with organization, do not conclude. Just introduce. They always introduce the other time when I look at the other question. Okay? Introduce and give us what slave trade implies, then you write organization, and that is the end. But if you find this as your part B, you are supposed to conclude, okay, and say slave trade was organized politically, socially, and economically as seen above. Okay, thank you very much for this lesson. Okay, so I was saying in the conclusion part of it, this is the easiest way of how we can conclude on any number of organization. Okay, any number of organization you find or you come across, you can conclude in this aspect. Where there is slave trade, remove slave trade and put the question how it requires you to put. Are you getting it? But if it is slave trade, because to our example now, we are saying in conclusion, therefore, slave trade was organized socially, politically, and economically as seen above. Okay? So after concluding, what do? That's the end of the question. We don't expect you to write any other point after the conclusion. And the moment you write it, for God's sake, okay, you have concluded. Now what do you want? What else? So which means whatever is down is irrelevant. So let us avoid to conclude when we still have points to write. But after concluding, just know that the number is done, put a full stop, pray that whatever is up is right, and you put it in the right order, then you move to another question. So that is how we handle the organization of slave trade. Thanks for listening. Thanks for our lesson today. Thanks for attending. We'll meet again in the next episode when we'll be talking about the effects of slave trade to the people of East Africa. Have a lovely day.